Hi there, Chris from BattleGoat Studios. We're getting back to some of our feature highlights. And the one I want to talk about today actually spans all of our games. And when I say all of our games, I mean all the way back to Supreme Ruler 2010. One of the foundational features in the Supreme Ruler games that we're very proud of and seems to work really well is our supply model. This is the idea that as military units move around the map and as industry tries to produce things on the map, the materials needed to get things moving, well, they have to move around. And this is represented by a supply model, which has a strength. When it is 0, goods are not moving. When it's 100%, they're moving really well. Each hex on the map, if you check in the land department, it shows you graphically, and you can hold over to get the exact number, it shows you the percentage supply it has. When you have troops fighting in an area, if it's a big urban battle, Germany versus France, this is going to be in a very high supplied area. You might get 60 to 80%. Bullets, fuel, they're getting back to those units very quickly. On the other hand, if you're fighting a war in the Middle East, if you're out in the Saudi desert, your supply levels might be 10, 5, 2%. As a tank uses up its ammunition, it will be slow to receive new bullets. That's the general concept. And most players seem to catch on that fairly quickly, but we often get questions about, well, how do I manage my supply? What do roads and rails do? And that's some of what I wanted to review today. And if you forget any of this after the video, we do have our Supreme Wiki, where we try and document knowledge about the game. And there's a whole page dedicated to the supply model. It'll probably cover even more than I do in this video. But the idea is that on the map, there are certain locations that are sources of supply. Common ones would be, of course, supply depots, but also airfields, sea piers, large cities, military bases. These create supply level. So the location that they're in with an airfield and a supply depot is going to have a very high level. Adjacent hexes will have slightly less, and further out, slightly less. That the supply strength decays over distance. Now, it also sort of feeds into itself, that if you have two bases closely adjacent, they each have a supply source, they're feeding into the middle, and you'll get solid supply everywhere. But if you start looking at northern Russia as an area, you'll get lots of pockets that are deep forest, zero supply. How roads and rails fit into this is, a lot of times people will describe it as roads extend supply. Mechanically, it's more accurate to say that they slow the decay. So from the source, it decreases as it moves out. If I put a road, the rate of decrease is slower. And the effect this gets you visually, if you turn on the map filter for supply, is a lot of times you'll have this colored line that follows the road as it moves around the map. And these become super important, that as you're taking territory, you want to be sure that you have a source with infrastructure bringing supply to your troops. So that's how it all comes together as the base map. The second thing to talk about supply is, well, what happens once there's conflict, once a war breaks out? What happens here is that supply is slow to build, fast to go away. So if I have some territory here and you have some territory here and you declare war on me and you push into my territory, as you take new territory, it begins at a zero supply. Now that means if I push you out very quickly and we're back to our original lines, okay, you haven't gained territory. But what I lost and regained, it's going to remain at a low supply for maybe 1 to 2 game weeks. So I am still more vulnerable, even if I've restored a normal line while I wait for the supply to come back. The other effect is that it prevents this idea of a single tank driving from Paris to Berlin, because as you move forward, every now and then you have to wait and allow the supply strength to follow you back. That if you're running the game as sort of a minor country when there's big conflicts going on someplace, if you crank up the speed when one country is steamrolling another, you can actually sort of watch the supply creep and fill in behind it. And the system, like I said, we're happy with how it came out, very proud of that whole system. So to help you understand this, Sources of supply build, infrastructure keeps the strength up, losing territory resets supply, and you can view all this with a map filter that is in the filters underneath the mini-map. There's a supply filter. Hotkey for that is S. So that's a pretty foundational feature. If you're new to the series, that might give you some real insight into what you need to think about as you play. And supply even affects rate of production for facilities. That if you're if you're Saudi Arabia with oil wells scattered and you're not getting as much as you want, adding supply depots next to them will actually increase your output of oil. So that's the latest feature that we wanted to talk about. And like I was saying in the opening, the supply model exists in all the Supreme Ruler games. It also exists in Galactic Ruler, both at the system level and at the planet level. Though system level doesn't apply as much because your area around your planet is pretty tight. In a game like Galactic Ruler, you have to do a lot of your resupplies at the space level. But on the planet level, you're dealing with the same type of thing. Planet combat for Galactic Ruler, Supreme Ruler, very similar. So if you're enjoying the game, we'd appreciate any Steam review, whichever game it is that you're playing. And you can chat with us on our Discord, on our Steam forums, on our VG forums, and the rest of the community also has a lot to talk about. So keep watching the videos. We'll keep making these. If you've got features you think we should be covering, leave comments down below, and we'll see you next time. Bye.